Hey, I know I'm doing something different again. I'm sitting right in front of the camera. Trying to find a way so that my glasses aren't clatching. So my glasses aren't catching a ton of glare. All right, guys, today's tons of fun. As you may or may not know, my name is Lynn, and I'm the hot mess behind all of the hot glue you're about to experience. If you are anything like my friend Megan and I will put her channel up above. We are constantly out shopping and looking for new and fun home decor. And with the holiday season coming up, we've been noticing all the fall stuff coming out. And there were a couple things that we each came across and we were like, this is cute, but I can make that. So that's basically what we did. We each found an item that we thought, this is cute, however, I'm not paying that price for it. So we've recreated it on as big of a budget, a small budget, giving us the biggest savings that we could come up with. So let's have fun. Let's get into the dupes. Although I have to say, I think mine are more inspired by than dupes because they're not the exact same. Whatever you want to call it. Let's see how they turned out, you guys. I hope you have a ton of fun. For the first project, we're going to be recreating this adorable little welcome sign that we saw at Kirklands. And I honestly don't remember the price. I just knew I wasn't going to even come close to buying it. Now, this sign is actually from last year. I had flipped it over and I used the back part of it. So I know that this sign is still available this year. First, I sanded off all of the glitter. I can't stand glitter. However, I probably didn't need to because if you know me, I really like to utilize scrap paper as much as possible for any kind of faux finish or background. So using this textured scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby that I got a while ago, actually, I just traced out the shape of the pumpkin. I'm gonna cut it out and then using my all-time favorite method to stick this onto the pumpkin shape, good old glue stick. I did get this glue stick at the Dollar Tree, which I don't normally use Dollar Tree glue sticks for this part. However, this is an Avery brand, which is a really good name brand, so I gave it a shot. And it's been done for a few days now, and it's only been a few days, but it's not falling off and it seems to be holding up pretty well. Once I get that completely flattened out and centered, I again, we'll go back through with the method of trimming that I just like to use the most, and that's just grabbing some sandpaper and in a downward motion, you trim and you shape the excess scrapbook paper. And this gives me the cleanest line. This gives me the most detailed shape, so I'm not having a ton of overhang and I'm not having a lot of inconsistencies if I were to, say, use my utility knife. I'm going to use this very, very scientific method of creating somewhat even spaces for these faux shiplap lines. On the original piece, it was on almost a pallet board, so I just wanted to recreate that. Now, I was using what I had on hand, and I believe this year, now they've recently released a pumpkin palette sign, so you may be able to just bypass this step altogether. Over my pencil lines, I'm just taking this silver lining on a thin brush, and I'm not really putting a lot of pressure on it. I'm basically just highlighting those lines. And again, this is to kind of attempt to get some sort of like a shiplap looking faux finish to it. Now, I used a wipey thinking that the paint might still be a little bit wet to kind of give it a smudged effect, but the paint had already dried because it's chalk paint and it's awesome, and that's typically why I use it. And so this time I'm just gonna go ahead, add a little bit of fresh paint, go over it with my wipey, and that creates a very nice smear, and it gives it a more natural shiplap look. How many times can I say shiplap? All right, so now I'm taking Plaster by Waverly, and I'm just really just dry brushing it over the entire pumpkin. And this was fun because the texture of the paper really started to show through, and it just created some added dimension and character to it that made it a lot more visually appealing, I guess, it made it look better. There we go. So to paint on top of this metal welcome sign. I can't find my Mod Podge because that's how I am. And I'm just using a little bit of wood glue, and I'm just gonna smear a little bit over it with a paintbrush. Now, once this starts to dry and it becomes kind of tacky feeling, not still wet, not overly dry, that's gonna help the paint stick. So I'm going to use this really pretty apple barrel color. It's called Golden Sunset. And this is a common color that you guys are gonna see me use throughout this fall season on a lot of my DIYs. So this is its first introduction. I just use a small paintbrush and I'm just stippling over it to make sure that I'm not wiping away anything and exposing any of the metal. I really wanted a solid cover over this metal sign. Now, I think I mentioned, but you can get this metal sign currently at Dollar Tree. If your store hasn't released it yet, then you might just have to wait a little bit. However, let's say you just don't find it. Say your Dollar Tree is like some of mine and they never get the stuff you're looking for. That's okay. I am going to try out this Dollar Tree vinyl. And what I thought I would do is I would trace the welcome word that we just used onto a piece of paper. I would lay that paper on top of the, as you can see, transfer carbon paper, and we're just going to trace over it so that that word traces onto the vinyl. This is my way of trying to come up with a way to have the vinyl look if you just don't have a Cricut, because if you're not crafting all that often, a Cricut may not be a necessity in your crafting arsenal. So I completely get that, and I try to offer up some different options as far as how to get the look, but not necessarily invest all that money. The Sharpie, this is not a Sharpie. I always call it a Sharpie. The X-Acto knife that I'm using, it's in a pen shape and it really allows for more control and a more detailed cut. I love this thing. I do not remember where I got it. I'm almost positive I've had it forever. I probably picked it up at Walmart sometime, so I apologize. If I can find a link to it, I'll try to drop that in the description box. And this particular piece, because of the font and all of that, it wasn't the easiest to cut. Now, you don't need transfer paper. You peel it off like a sticker and you place it on your surface. So back to the main portion of this project. I'm now going to just use a little bit of hot glue to attach the welcome word onto the main portion of this project, as I had mentioned. And you obviously want to be careful because the metal will conduct heat. So when you go to attach this, try not to put your fingers directly on the metal where you put your hot glue, because it doesn't feel great. So be nice and gentle, use some finger protection, and if you need to, you can go in with your detailed knife like I just did and remove a small amount of the overhanging paint that might have gotten on there while it was drying. While I was at Walmart picking up the apple barrel paint, I came across this really nice, it's like a bracelet faux leather cord, and really didn't know what I was gonna do with it, but I really liked the color and it matched this paint color so well. So for an added detail, because I don't have much ribbon on hand, I'm not really into a bunch of ribbon when it comes to home decor. So I use this for a little bit more of a modern feel. I'm just gonna attach a few beads. These are ones that are just kind of the leftover random sizes that I have from an Amazon bag that I bought. It was like a variety, and these are not my typical sizes that I like to use. So I'm just adding these onto here almost as if they were a tassel, but not a tassel, just overhanging visual decor, I guess. I don't know what you'd call it. I feel like it looked a lot better once I put it on. Let me know what you think. Should I have gone more of a dupe with putting the ribbon on this, or do you like the little bit more modern, kind of slightly customized, more individual look with this faux leather cord and the beads? As you can see, I'm just using a drop of hot glue to kind of keep those beads together. I was using the detailed Surebonder glue gun, as I always do, because it really gets into those grooves and you just don't have a lot of overhang. You may notice in this video, I still have not replenished my Sherbonder glue. So there are a few extra little hot glue webs and stuff, but those are easy to fix. Now flipping this over to show you the reverse side. Oh, guess not. We're not gonna show that side right now. Didn't realize that I edited it that way. I'm sorry. We're gonna make a base for the sign altogether. Now this is just a rectangular piece of wood that I get from Dollar Tree. It comes in a pack of 6. For me, they're extremely hard to find. Using those tumbling tower blocks like I did in my last video, how I even have some left, I don't know. I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of create a support on both the front and the back of this so that these little tumbling tower blocks are going to be glued to the base, and they're also going to sandwich the sign together. I originally started with 2, however, it just didn't seem sturdy enough and I just didn't like it. It just looked, I don't know, it just looked lackluster or whatever you want to say. Anyway, so once I got all those on, I was rummaging through my little stash box again. I need to introduce you guys to Stash Box. He's amazing. He's got tons of cool stuff in him. Anyway, so I'm adding this little detail that I found in the stash box, and the wood was just too light. So what I did was I took Apple Barrel's Nutmeg Brown and used very little of it, and then I also used my White to go through and just kind of give it a stained, almost smeared effect, and I really like the way this turned out. Once I was done getting the color on and it dried, I did go back through off camera and I used my little sanding finger sander detail guy, and I just sanded down the edges to give it a little bit more of a weathered look to kind of match that front portion with the faux shiplap. Again, I'll have to count to see how many times I say shiplap. Again, you guys, I had mentioned before, this is really fun. We do this all the time. Megan and I will look at things and we're like, oh my gosh, look how cute this is. But oh my gosh, look at that price tag. I would never pay that much for something. And you know, I say it all the time, it's like, even if I had an unlimited decorating budget, I still would come in and make the items that I could make and then save the money and put it somewhere else. I don't know, that's just me. Would you guys make it even if you could afford any home decor? If you could just unlimited walk into a store, 0 budget, buy whatever you wanted, would you still pay exuberate, that is not even a word. Would you still pay the large high ticket prices for some of this home decor, or would you use them as some inspiration, go home and do it yourself for a fraction of the cost? There are some things that I would just pay the money for, because if you really look at it and you break down all the materials, sometimes it's a little bit more of a headache than it's worth. However, the decor that we picked, we really felt that this was something that we could find materials for either leftover from last year, lying around our craft rooms, or even the ability to go to the Dollar Tree, pick up a couple items, and try to recreate these on our own. Here I go again. I'm a control freak. Gotta make those flowers stick right where I want them. How dare they? How dare they think that they can just fall wherever they want, willy-nilly. I'll show you. Put some hot glue on you. Megan and I were lucky enough to find a couple extra of the 2022 coveted calendars. So we each picked up some extras and we're going to be doing a giveaway. Now, there is a random pick on this one, but make sure you leave a comment to be entered. Moving on. So if you don't remember, this is the original piece that we were trying to kind of duplicate, make our own. This is the way that I interpreted that piece. Again, this matches my home decor the best. This is really how I would have preferred to see it in the store. If it was more this style, I probably would have been willing to actually buy it, but it's always fun to go home and make it yourself. The next project. So as you can see, some simple vases, some beautiful flowers, and a wood stand. So this particular base that I'm using, it's from a while ago. I've had it in my stash. As you can see, I thought it was like disconnected. I thought this little piece had fallen off and it was the plastic that was keeping it on, but no. I started to think about removing it and I lost all patience with it because it was on there pretty good. Now I do know that Dollar Tree is has released a fall version of this exact print. So you can easily find this and try to recreate this on your own or find something that's a similar shape. I, as usual, needed to add some kind of feet, and once I started to think about it, we're putting vases on top of this, and I really wanted to make sure that it wasn't gonna just collapse in. So I added some popsicle sticks or craft sticks just for some added stability. And here I go. I finally have to attack this guy because I need to use the front portion. Let me tell you, I was shocked, just completely shocked at how difficult it was to get that little frame off. Last time I was in California, I do not live there currently, but as most of you know, California has a 99 cents only store. So when I went in there, I was looking around and they had these packs. I don't even remember how many there are in them. I want to say maybe 10, but these cute little garden stakes is where they were in the garden. They were in the garden section, so I'm assuming they're garden stakes. Once I get them on there, after I realized I'm not going fancy with it, I'm not staggering them, I just lay them on top of there, I mark it with my pencil, and I go through, and to make the cuts easier, you could probably on this wood still use a really nice pair of sharp scissors. I do have what are called tin snips, and you can get them in the hardware section at Office Depot. No, Home Depot. So these are the tin snips. These cut through this wood like butter. So if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, you'll be able to find these. They're only $6 or $7. Now that everything is covered, the front and the sides, I'm taking my black paint marker. Now it doesn't look black because all of the wrapping came off of it, but this is a paint marker that I like to get at Walmart for $2 or $3. And I'm just gonna highlight and kind of go into the grooves because when it's finished, I really wanted those to stand out, but I didn't want to, commit myself to making this a really light color, if that makes any sense. You guys, I make this up as I go, but look at this, I'm coloring with my left hand. Oh, showing off cause she fancy. I didn't realize I was doing that. And when I was editing, I was like, oh, look at her. So I have a cup of water next to me. And what I'm doing is I'm just dipping that brush in a little bit of water. I'm actually keeping it pretty saturated. And all I'm doing is taking the water saturated brush and I'm going over the paint marker and it's just kind of smearing. And that way the details are in the wood and they're coming up a little bit darker. So you want to do that to all of the surfaces, the top, the sides, and I guess the front and the back. I'm not really sure. I mean, it's got 4 sides. So if you say sides, I guess that counts as all of them. Now what I did is as you can see, I just took, oh, look at that. She used her left hand to draw and her right hand to paint. What I found was a little bit easier was kind of just putting a little bit of that paint marker onto the tip of my brush and then going for it. I figured this out later because then you don't get those crazy lines. I mean, putting your marker into a groove and then following that groove. That can be difficult. I mean, clearly, I just showed you that. So here I am just sanding it to give it a little bit of character. Now in the original piece, you may remember there was handles on this. And at first I thought maybe I'll use like a leather strip or maybe, I don't know, I figured I would find something lying around in my craft room, and I did. So these are also currently available. These are like witch legs from the Dollar Tree, and they are hanging on this really nice plastic round hanger. I took one of those. I bought 2 thinking I needed to, but I took one, I cut it in half. Now that took some time because this is solid plastic. So I just sat there, I watched TV, I grabbed my tin snips, and I just kind of rotated this all the way around so it would slowly score it, and then it finally broke and I sanded it down. I had some leftover Dollar Tree white vinyl, and so I thought, okay, I'm just gonna cover the glass vases, no big deal. And then I just didn't love it, and I went outside to go ahead and paint it, and no paint. 0 paint, didn't have any paint, so I wrapped it in just white computer paper. And I hot glued it in little spots here and there, and honestly, this works out fine for me because a lot of times I will change my mind. I will use this through this season, but come next year,
maybe I want something different. And so being able to just change it out, keep it customizable season after season is really, again, how I find just to be the most cost-effective way to create individualized home decor. I don't do bows. I do not do bows. You'll just not see me do bows unless it's like a shoelace bow. Even then, it's rare. So this is the end result. We've got our tiny little tray, our white jars. Again, I'm not real big on ribbon, so I didn't have much to choose from, but you can still see it's at least reminiscent of the Kirklands version of this, and it was a fraction of the cost. You figure we have the tray, which was only $1, each vase was $1, and these flowers did come from Dollar Tree. If you guys have not checked out their fall floral, don't sleep on this, guys. Get down there and grab what you like, because if you know Dollar Tree like I do, it's gonna be gone. So definitely get in there, get what you want, and stock up on it for these fun upcoming fall decor. Speaking of upcoming fall decor, big changes on my channel. I get to kind of just devote a little bit more time. So make sure you guys hit subscribe, then go down to that bell, hit notify all. This way, all season long, when I post a new video, you are notified and you are not missing out. I will be uploading much more frequently, and we've just got tons of big plans. We've got tons of ideas, and starting now, all I can see is fall. That is just the mood I'm in. You remember I made this double-sided. Here's just a couple quick shots of what that other side looks like. You guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Your time really means the world to me. Please give this a thumbs up. It helps me tremendously here on Facebook. It helps me tremendously on YouTube. As you guys know, I'm a huge advocate for mental health. Here are some 5 things that I found that can help you deal with your anxiety. Again, you guys, thank you, thank you, thank you. Until next time, take care of each other and always take care of yourself, because you matter as well.